Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty back with our Renegade playthrough of The Letter. So we are playing as Rebecca. It is shortly after she has found Isabella's body, and Ashton has been blowing up at everyone, and his superiors were acting like jerks and yelled at him, and so we're following him. So, minutes later, I finally track Ashton down at a nearby park. He can't sit still, pacing back and forth, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration every other pass he makes. At some point, he decides to take it out on a poor park bench, only for his foot to regret it all afterwards. He returns to pacing then, has been at it for the last 5 minutes, and at this point, he might end up digging a trench on the ground if he doesn't let up.
Someone should stop him.
When I followed him here, I'd intended to put an end to this, had a whole speech prepared for him. Now that I'm standing in close proximity to his temper, to him, I can't bring myself to even approach. My feet simply won't move the instant I see him. Before long, my own resolve starts to wane, gradually fading away underneath the uncertainties. What will he think? Will he appreciate this? He hates it when people interfere with his affairs, and here I am barging in on his business as if it's something I'm entitled to share. When did I start thinking this way? When did I start thinking this is okay?
Why did I think this would be a good idea?
I'm stepping back before I know it, although I don't make it far. In my rush, I accidentally step on a stray wrapper that somehow missed the trash. It crunches under my foot, and in the stillness of the park at this time, it's loud enough to disturb. Ashton halts, looks up, his vast expression making way for bewilderment.
Becca? You aren't supposed to be here.
A park? It isn't meant to be an accusation or to be taken as like one. It's a simple statement, yet it sounds far from it all the same, a question underneath. Facing it now, I hesitate. I don't even know which one of these would make him depressed. He's so temperamental. Can't sleep? Ugh. Of course. I should be in a punk. I heard you know.
I heard you know.
Yep, minus. Direct, straight to the point, as clear-cut and as forthright as I can manage. There's no way out of this, no way to go but forward and straight into the heart of the problem. Dancing around these issues holds little meaning now after our loss, consequences be damned. Because more than the thought of meeting his anger is the thought of another thing consuming him, his grief. I'm more afraid of losing him to that. Someone has to reach out before he strays.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The chief? Inspector Abigail? Just outside the parking lot? Does any of that ring a bell? I was there, Ash. I heard all of it.
Would it have changed anything if you didn't? Don't rub it in.
I guess Ash is just not gonna read this line. What are you even doing back there anyway? Didn't they tell you the place is sealed off until we're done?
You're in no position to tell me what to do right now, Ashton.
I'm not... Listen here, Becca. We're already having enough trouble trying to pin down the asshole who did this. We can't find a shred of evidence. Don't add to our problems.
How am I adding to your problems? I just happened to end up there, and all I did was stand. That place is also my home, in case you forgot. Seriously, Ash, what happened? What's happening to you? I've never seen you act like this over a case.
Yeah, Ashton, what's making this case different? It's not like your friend died.
You can always talk to me.
I can't just talk, Becca. How many times do I have to tell you that?
That doesn't mean I'll stand around and do nothing while you're doing everything to apparently ruin yourself.
What part of you shouldn't get involved do you not understand?
My best friend is dead. I'm involved.
I wasn't trying to get myself involved in anything. I'm just asking what the problem is. Your problem. Maybe I can help, you know? Just like how we used to as kids.
He's gonna lash out.
We're not children anymore, Becca.
I knew it.
This isn't as simple as the games we used to play back then. You saw what they did to her, with your own eyes. Whoever did this knows exactly what they're doing. If you don't stop butting in on police business, you could end up like the victim.
Wow, referring to her like that. Wrong. So many things going wrong in this talk. His stubbornness, his stupid assumptions, even this whole crazy idea of keeping us safe he has going on in his head. Is he expecting people to just accept everything as it is? But out of everything that came out of his mouth, that last bit takes the whole bloody cake over everything.
The victim has a name, Ash, and that victim is your friend.
And my friend.
Why is it so difficult to say her name now when you've done it plenty of times before?
Does it matter now? She's gone. Even Zach made a bigger issue out of that.
Hit him with a book, Rebecca.
There are other things you two should really be...
It does matter. To you, it does. For a long time. You've always...
You've always seen her in a different light. Far different from the way he'd look at other people, Zachary, or me. Always with the tiny gleam in his eyes, the darting glances, and the kind smiles. Little things, little gestures. To others it may seem like nothing, but to him it means the whole world, because it's the only way he can say everything without fumbling or losing his nerves. Right from the very start, and I don't need to ask the why. I've always had an inkling. Thought has always been there, hiding, tucked, and neatly sealed away at the back of my mind, in the same manner he keeps his own secrets close to himself. Which is why, when he swallows hard, allows his arms to fall limp to his sides, and shifts his gaze away, there's no jolt, no surprise in me. Just a slow, painful, burning realization of a truth long held. The feeling's never meant to be for me. And yet, in the end...
Like I said, it doesn't matter. You guys need to understand that whatever I say or do right now, this case isn't going to solve itself.
In the end, it's him who cowers from it.
You keep on saying case this, case that. But this isn't just about the bloody investigation anymore, is it?
Well, you seem to have a better idea what it is. Why don't you lay it all out to me, so I'll understand? Maybe I'm missing something.
It's a ghost.
Because honestly, I don't know what else this could be, other than what we've been telling the press. A fucking homicide case. The victim was murdered. And if you bring up that stupid letter again...
Will you quit saying that?
Well, what do you want me to say then?
Stop lying to yourself!
I'm lying? Becca, look here,
No! Enough! Enough with your cool act! I'm having none of it! You listen, and you listen good! Stop this! Stop lying! Stop telling yourself everything and this is normal for you! Because it's not! It never was! It never will be!
Well, he does need to hear that.
Rebecca, I think you need to calm down.
Stop pretending Isabella no longer equates into all of this just because she's gone! Because that is a big, fat lie coming from you! She matters because it's her! She always did! No one else! Or you. She always did.
The very meaning behind it freezes him into place, and any excuses or diversion dies in his tongue. There's more to it, however. Beyond his unmoving stance and his sudden, unfocused stare, there's understanding and fear. He's aware I'm right, and every word I'm about to articulate are the very same ones he's been avoiding. But these need to be said, even if it means having him face the unpleasant.
Regardless of what you're telling me or Zachary, I know that out of all of us, you're the one taking this the hardest.
I allow my voice to fade into the night, into the chilly air blowing the distance between us. Cold, sharp, unforgiving, much like the truths we have to face. Ashton is silent for quite some time, but the earlier shock in his face has given way to something flaccid, subdued. And when that silence becomes too unbearable for him as well, he forces himself to move, to pace, treading the ground once again, one perturbed footstep after another, and running a furious hand to his hair before dropping it to his side. Later, when that too turns inadequate, he gives the park bench another good kick. This time, if it brings any pain to him, he simply takes it all in, as if that alone will dull the other pain.
Fuck.
Regardless, he continues, but this time there's something in his voice. A bitter note dropping to nothing more than whispers, he mutters to himself. A sound he meant only for his ears to hear, but reverberates clearly on the park's stillness.
Ash, maybe you should...
Damn it, God damn it! I was hoping, damn it, I was hoping for her to...
His throat closes up, his words choke off, getting lost in his sorrow. Unable to continue, he presses a hand over his eyes instead, letting out a slow, ragged breath that brings him neither a sense of comfort nor relief. It's simply another reminder of what he failed to do.
I couldn't even, damn it, all these years, telling myself that I love, and yet I couldn't even...
And this is when he breaks. Piece by piece, brick by brick, the walls he has struggled to put up all come tumbling down, all of his defenses caving in, weakening as it bears the brunt of his grief. His words are halting when the first tears begin to fall, his shoulders shaking, hands clenched tightly, his fists holding onto something quickly slipping away from him. Or maybe it already did. Maybe this comes from all those missed opportunities. Her departure took it all with her, and what he's clinging to right now are merely the fragments. Remnants of all the what-ifs and should-haves.
I knew this was going to be a difficult case. The moment I saw it, I knew. There was barely any evidence. Not even a sign of someone else breaking in. And she's just there. I've been at this since last night, and I couldn't find anything that would help. I hate this. I hate feeling this stupid, this helpless. I can't even begin to imagine what she felt before she... Figures, huh? Turns out I'll mess this up, too. Huh?
It's sad because we're killing everyone and he's gonna be the last one left. In truth, I do not know how to answer that or if he's expecting any from me. It's one of those questions where there's really no exact answer to. Same with those little regrets now surfacing, lingering. Any other day I tell him exactly how I see it without wavering. That, no matter how, there's no way we could have prepared for this, no way we could have known things would lead to this. But those are opinions better left for another day, when we're hurting less, when we aren't reeling from what has been haphazardly thrown at us. After all, platitudes tend to seize their usefulness at some point. And in its place, I've nothing else to offer but a shoulder to cry on. We're an awkward fit like this, with his trembling shoulders and short heaving breaths. Though he allows it, he doesn't return the gesture, nor do I expect him to do so. Unlike Isabella, who has always been open and free with her fondness for people, personal space has always been a matter of importance for the two of us. Ashton most of all. For the time being, this'll do.
Vanport, you're an idiot. Of course I know how you're feeling about this. Who do you think I am? We grew up together, didn't we? I know you better than anyone. Stop forgetting stuff like that. Drill it into your head if you must.
We'll take what little comfort we can gain from this, beyond what reassurances mere words can offer. And in this short moment we share, this is enough. We exchange no words after, simply standing there for a good half an hour, letting the late-night din of the city, the rustling of leaves, and the hum of the crickets nearby fill the air around us. We remain like this until his sobs finally subside, and what's left of it are nothing more than soft whimpers. When at last he pulls away from me, it's as if the heavy atmosphere is finally lifted around us, and what he carries with him no longer burdens him the way it did minutes ago. Not completely, though. Even with this, it'll take longer for everything to fade, and neither will it be easily forgotten, especially when it's taken root so deeply in our lives. But he's calm now. It's better this way, because only in the aftermath is when he'll learn to deal, to cope.
Is it going to be okay now?
It's a start. I can't always walk him through this. He knows that too. So when he answers, he asks nothing more of me and only answers in the best manner he can without reverting back to anger or locking himself away.
Yeah, a little, I guess. I don't know. This is... It'll take some time. There's still the investigation and the evidence, if we can even find any. Plus, the lab still has to test everything.
Ash, I'm not asking about the case. Although that's important, trust me, I want to know who did this as much as you do. At least then, I'll have a proper reason to hit someone, but I'm asking about you. Are you going to be okay?
Another mirthless expression flickers shortly across his features before he looks away, his eyes focusing on some distant area of the park. There's a hint of yearning in them, probably searching for that one person who could never be here from now on. It's gone, and he's already talking in the next second before I can prompt him.
I'll be fine. A bit of adjustment here and there, maybe. I'll be okay. I've survived worse things.
I doubt he believes those, but I don't question him further on it, and neither does he let me.
But thanks for asking. And for this. Sorry you had to see me like that.
What? Don't be so embarrassed about it now. This isn't the first time, remember? Back in secondary, if I recall, someone had to snap you out of that sulk, too.
Yeah. No. Don't remind me. And don't sound so proud of it.
Why not? I mean, you've done more embarrassing things in front of other people, and I always have to...
That's the point. It's embarrassing.
Oh, come on. Now you're feeling ashamed about it? For the record, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But let's just leave it there, Becca. And if you can, if possible, can you not... Don't mention this to Zach. For now. I'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, about Zach. I think he's still alive canonically right now, but tomorrow... There are a lot of things he intentionally leaves out in that. So many things he refuses to tell, and it's all being hidden under that false front. His hesitance alone, the shift in his tone from the banter, speaks volumes. Zachary has never been one to easily judge people. It's part of the reason why Ashton hangs out with him despite their rather disastrous first meeting. The big guy learning about this little episode won't make any difference, nor even change things around them. It's just one of the many things they learn to accept, or in some cases, tolerate about each other. Of course, it doesn't mean things like the punching incident this morning never occurs. That doesn't mean it can't easily be fixed, though. Sometimes all they need is a little push. Kids.
Zachary will understand.
Yeah, I know. I know that. But I'd rather talk to him in person first. About other things. And when we're in better terms, maybe we can laugh about this. But right now...
I won't mention anything. Don't worry. Though, like I said, Zachary will understand. You are just doing your job and that kind of news isn't easy to swallow. Anyone would have reacted that way. Even if it's someone like Zach. In fact, if I didn't know the big guy, he's probably feeling guilty about it like you're doing now. Trust me, It'll be okay.
He merely smiles in reply, strained and a bit awkward, but I take it for everything it stands for right now. Today, and in the next, a little drop of optimism can do us some good, even if things appear a wee bit bleaker than it should be, or were people rarely inclined to hope blindly. That kind of predisposition has always been Isabella's or Zach's department, never from us who stick to the facts and what we see in front of us. But this time, taking a page from their book isn't so bad. What is there left to lose? Journal. A fuming Ashton marched off to the park after his temporary dismissal from Isabella's case. Rebecca follows after him, and the two ended up in a spat over Ashton's cold and distant attitude. When all was said and done, Ashton reaches breaking point. I actually want to check the main menu and see if that stinger thingy is like there. I don't think it is in the gallery, so I'm gonna pause for a second. Yeah, but check that I didn't see it there. I mean, I assume we're gonna run into it again. I plan to do a few other playthroughs to get like different relationships and stuff, so we'll see it again, I'm sure. Anyway, we don't stay long. The evening might be pleasant and the park offers a peaceful enough place to muse on things, but we have work to do. Both of us. And though Ashton doesn't openly express it, I know he still wishes to be alone after this and mourn in his own way. The heaviest of his burden might have already been lifted, but there are parts he continues to hold close, bits and pieces more difficult to let go of. Those are the ones I can never reach, and in spite of the facts that the mere thought of it sends to my heart clenching, I can't bring myself to begrudge him over it. In this way we are the same. Some wounds simply take longer to heal. Which is why I don't stop him, and quietly we part ways. He goes straight off to Salem Wall again, only leaving me a small promise to get to the bottom of this while I head back to the city proper, where an unfamiliar room and more awful dreams probably wait for me. And perhaps it's exactly the fear of being left with these thoughts on my own that leads me back to the cafe instead.
Delaying the inevitable, they say.
Less time to think about these as long as I'm awake, moving, and in the company of other people. At this hour, the cafe is usually filled to the brim with people. That's the reason Isabella and I rarely ever go here during the evenings. It's simply too much of a hassle when we can prepare food ourselves in the comfort of our homes, and there isn't really much reason to eat out lately. What with life going on a busy streak. No time for long lines, better spend that doing something productive, yes?
Lucky there isn't one tonight.
Only few people are idling around the counter. Oh, is this where we rid of Luke?
Irish stew. Just for one person.
Aw. So, yeah, Luke is here with his goddaughter, Kylie, and we're suspicious. Or we are normally, I don't know if we are this time. He quickly raises an eyebrow at that, while I swiftly avert my eyes down to my hands, although I don't miss the consoling look he gives me. I rarely visit her alone if I can help it. Often, it's always with Isabella. She can be a bad influence sometimes. That's precisely why this guy has known us long enough that if I ever drop by here alone, he already has a number of ideas why. Doubtless he's already heard what happened in the news. No need to bring it up in something as casual as ordering food. There's a proper time and place for grief and empty sympathies. I don't think it would be an empty sympathy coming from this guy. He gives me a small smile before leaving to prepare my order while I fish for my wallet when...
Look, you little ankle biter.
So we beat Luke over the head with a book. I'm sorry we skipped it, but, you know, we'll see it again when we go for their romance.
Mister, you have until the count of 5 to let me go and step out of my personal space.
Fair warning. You know, we're kneeing him in the crotch again. And we learn that he's Kylie's thing. But we're going to apologize to Kylie this time, because Luke murdered Hannah. Of course, an apology is the most appropriate thing to say. But no matter how much I will myself to do it. My own body refuses to budge. My own mouth refuses to open, and my head rejects the very idea of looking at him. No apology for an arsehole. Not to someone with an ego too big for his head. Look at Kylie's head. Let his pride suffer. I'm not going to eat my words for the sake of stroking his damn ego. Less reason for him to gloat. Kylie, however, I owe an explanation.
Don't worry, Kylie. I'm not fighting with your Tio. This is just, a discussion. A very serious discussion between a very mature adult and one that's not.
Really? But I've never seen Tio angry before.
Are you sure?
It's because he's losing the argument. But don't ever follow his example, Kylie. You should always learn to be patient, even if things aren't going your way, okay?
Oh sure, a discussion. And it involves hitting random strangers you meet at a cafe with a book.
Don't insult my language.
A hard-bound book. Mind you, the little me hasn't recovered yet. My future generation never survives from this. We are going to have more than words, woman!
I don't allow Kylie to hear his tirade, and cover both of her ears with my hands. As fond as she is of the man, there are words he shouldn't be saying in front of a child. I'm not sure he's actually said anything that he shouldn't. How can he not know about that? More importantly, how on earth does someone like him become a godfather? Who allowed it? Maybe I should talk to Mrs. Suarez about it. Warn her he's not a good influence for her children.
Language! How can you use such crude words in front of her? Your goddaughter can hear you, for heaven's sake.
Oh, and you didn't. If I remember everything correctly, you called me a rotten beau.
So you're going to repeat it in front of her, just to make a point? What, are you 5? Even 5-year-olds are more sensible than you.
Even Isabella, I can say that much with certainty.
Even 5-year-olds are more sensible than you.
See what I mean?
Are you fighting again?
Oh, no. Like I said, we were just having a discussion. We're actually done now, but you need to promise Miss Pink you will never grow up like this guy. Good kids don't do what he's doing.
Murdering people.
But I like Tio.
And I'm quite sure Tio likes you too. But liking people is different. Just because you like him doesn't mean you have to be like him.
We totally shouldn't be saying this to her. It's very inappropriate.
There are better role models for you aside from him.
Like you?
Not exactly what I'm trying to get at. But if that's what you want, I don't see why not.
Next time Luke annoys her, she's gonna hit him with a book.
Okay, I want to be like Miss Pink someday. I want to be a teacher, and I promise I won't be like Tio, even if he's a gazillionaire.
Wow. Turning my own goddaughter against me. How mature of you, Miss Pink.
His tone makes me pause. For the first time since this talk started, I look at him. Briefly, something flashes behind his eyes, something close to what might be an expectation failing. Dismay? I can't be sure. It passes almost as soon as it appears. What's that about? Does he actually like having Kylie around? Doesn't seem like it from the get-go, but if that fond smile on him is anything to judge by, then maybe...
Don't worry, Tio. If you buy me bread pudding tonight, I'll like you again.
Aw, if that's all it takes, consider it done, sweetheart. We might have to find another place to buy it from, though. Somewhere safe. Where a random crazy woman isn't going to attack us out of the blue.
I wouldn't bet on it. That's been happening a lot lately.
Let's go.
Okay, bye, Miss Pink. I still like you, just not more than Tio anymore. See you.
Kyla's already pulling him to the cafe's exit before I can protest on it. Although, it's not like there's anything to object on further. I may view that man, Luke, as someone hateful, maybe to the point of seeing him as an eyesore, but I don't think that'll have any bearing on what the child thinks of him. When you think about it, if she admires him so much, then maybe there's still something agreeable in him. A part of him only Kylie sees. He still has the gall to wink at me before they both disappear behind the door, so maybe not. However, there's no moment to ponder on it. Seconds later, the guy at the counter waves me over and hands me a paper bag as soon as I've paid. He offers me another smile before I leave. Normally I return it simply for the sake of returning it, or I don't at all, with the latter happening more commonly. For the time being, I do so freely. Wasn't this line there before? After that encounter and the scene we've caused, seeing a friendly gesture being extended to me, albeit from a person I barely know on a personal level, feels like a reassurance despite bearing no promise of better days. I take what little I can of it with me as I step out into the night. Yeah, that's just us beating him with the book. Zach will still be alive for a while. A cloudless night sky greets me when I walk out of the cafe. Beyond the tall buildings, a blanket of stars spreads out before me. Isabella once told me that the best place to view it is someplace outside the city, away from the noise and the obtrusive lights. She'd seen it once in her mom's hometown, and another time in the university she used to attend. Then she asked if it's possible to try it out here sometime. I agreed with her back then, if only because she appeared excited at the mere prospect of it. We made those little plans along with Zachary and Ashton. We never got around to it before, now we've lost the chance. Even so, I find myself enjoying this, despite being told it's only half the experience. Little things, you know, stuff you learn to appreciate when you're alone. Because at certain times, you get to meet people who are unfortunately born with the innate talent to ruin the mood and the scene with their mere existence alone. For example, the very driver of the car fast approaching my direction. So yeah, that's Luke. And we see the shadow and we think it's his wife. It is not his wife, it's probably the ghost. I don't think it'll let us skip this, so we're gonna read the line. The brief lull of the past 2 days is offered, is nice while it's lasted. Or as nice as it can get under the shadow of Isabella's recent passing hovering over our heads. There have been no updates from Ashton either, despite his promise. When he breaks his silence, it's only to deliver a short message from LPD allowing Salem Well's tenants to return their flats tonight. Somehow with that, it feels like the whole of Luxembourg and the whole world even has at last chosen to move on its own again. Onwards to different, more important things that really matter to the general public. Yet something still lingers.
Like an ugly premonition.
And as expected, just as things start to settle and a steady rhythm finally worms its way back to my routine Thursday morning, brings further disturbance to the now calm waters. With little ceremony, they'll still enough to ripple through everything. In retrospect, I really should have seen this coming. Yep. So Luke shows up at the school. It's like a conference day. He's there to support Kylie. He's being nice to Kylie and really hard on himself. But, you know, no friendship.
You really think that?
It's an honest question. Because no matter how much I turn it around inside my head, the gap between the man standing in front of me and the idea I have of him just won't connect. Not that gesture will go a long way with him. Something in his demeanor tells me he's definitely not the kind of man who readily accepts such when they are given to him. Rather, he feels entitled to it from the get-go, so long as you're standing in front of him. He expects it to be there, demands for it when he cannot see it in you. And after all those insults we've thrown at each other, I don't think it'll matter much to him if I point out the ugly truths or brandish it to his face. As expected, it doesn't throw him off in the least, and he merely raises a questioning brow at me.
About what?
About what you told Kylie. And don't you think she's a bit too young for that kind of talk?
Kylie's 6, Daisy, not an infant who still needs help changing her nappy. At her age, she can already handle more than that. Besides, it's better to nip this whole thing at the bud. You know, before she starts thinking that a man's ego defines her self-worth. I certainly don't need someone else to define me. Why should any godchild of mine do? So, do I really think that? Yes. Yes, very much so. Why shouldn't I?
All right, I get it. I'm sorry. You just didn't seem the type to me.
I've intended to end the conversation right there and simply go my way. I no longer have any business here, and our deputy principal's stories sound more exciting the longer I stand here. With the manner Luke's almost ranting, I have a feeling this won't end if I say more. Though thinking about it, I should have left the second he took the box from me. Naturally, he doesn't get the hint.
The type. And what, pray tell, would my type be according to your standards, woman?
Type who murders his wife.
The sort I'd happily bury alive.
Well, would you look at what's coming out of those pretty little lips? Watch the language, Daisy. You're supposed to be teaching children. What would ever happen to this nation?
You know what I mean.
Oh, and you somehow find that tidbit funny.
A little, I admit. That sort of wisdom is the last thing I expected to come from you. I mean, look at yourself. Pampered and pompous to the last hair. You've probably never been to this side of Luxbourne until a few days ago.
Presumptuous.
Daisy, just because I'm dressed miles better than the average bloke you see every day, doesn't mean I'm incapable of thinking on your level. Actually, I'm more surprised we aren't on the same page on this. I expected better from someone with enough balls to hit a random stranger with a bloody book. In public, mind you. Someone my goddaughter looks up to, even. Guess you can't have everything in this world,
Well, of course I'm...
Oh, I get it. Running on presupposed notions, aren't we? My, what a dangerous thing to practice for a teacher.
It doesn't have anything to do with...
What is it this time, I wonder? Oh, hey, don't say it, let me guess. What do those random gossips in this bloody city usually say? Oh, right. You probably think I'd go with clingy, spoiled kind, didn't you?
What? Where did that... How did you even come to that conclusion?
My wife was like that, and I murdered her.
Oh, don't lie to me now, Daisy. But just so we're clear, if I wanted an arm decor, I'd have gone with the first brainless munter I picked up on the streets.
I don't know what that M word means, but it's probably really offensive.
I have standards, you know.
I haven't even said a word. I was just asking what you thought of it.
Oh, but you were thinking about it or else you wouldn't have asked. Might as well get it out of the way,
You are impossible.
We've got Luke disappointed in us, of all people.
So they say. Tell me something I didn't know, Daisy.
You... I really have no idea how anyone with half a brain can put up with you. Let me speak with your wife sometime. I'd love to ask her.
The last remark just came out. There might be a sliver of truth in it, but I shouldn't have phrased it like that. Did he murder the wife yet? Where are we at now? Is Hannah dead yet? I don't think she is. Yeah, Hannah's still alive. Would have been a really weird thing to say otherwise. Even for my own standards of the kind of person I'm talking to, it's still quite rude. An apology is already on my throat, but the minute I open my mouth, all of what I prepare myself to say dissipates. Lost in the moment in front of me. He's turned into his gaze outside, staring at some point past the buildings blocking the view of the sky, equally lost in his thoughts. He's a vexing man under so many standards. However, in this moment, the morning light streaming through the window lends his features a certain air. Softer, less severe than what he often flaunts. Might as well be looking at a different man. There's a tender note in his voice when he finds it, the words muttered under his breath unintended for anyone but himself. Nevertheless, it reaches my ears, unintentional as it may be.
You're right. She deserves someone far better than me.
Well, you murder her then! And Luke being hard on himself. Kylie's friend is in the bathroom and won't come out. And so we go in. Kylie's possessed. Friend is the ghost. Everything's back to normal. We flee the bathroom. Now we're in our room drinking tea. Perhaps I should have listened to Ash and followed my suspicions.
Perhaps Isabella's right all along.
A terrible thing if true, though that thought doesn't linger long, thankfully. Soon the ringing on my mobile takes my attention away from it. An unfamiliar name flashes before me once the screen lights up and my browsing it together. So this is us talking with Marianne about the book. One moment I'm busy simply grading worksheets, attending a movie premiere the next, and someone suddenly inviting me out for one reason or another. Days later, a friend ends up murdered and I'm looking down at her lifeless body. Simply isn't enough time to breathe and get a grip on things. I have been flipping through the pages of said book moments ago, though never really reading anything and merely hoping for a distraction. So yeah, Marianne talks to us about the curse, but doesn't really word it. We get invited out to dinner, and Ashton texts us, "Hey Becca, I'll be around Salemville this evening, need to meet someone in the area. I might have a drop by yours and Isabella's place after, see ya. Except she's no longer there, if that scenario ever comes to pass." So we have to decide whether to go with Luke, or whether to go see Ashton. I don't know what to pick here. Actually, because we didn't pick Ashton the last time, so... Oh yeah. So... Zach is still alive. So we'll go with Kylie. So we're going out to dinner with Luke and Kylie. I might reload. We'll see what we have here. The dedication and loyalty should mean something, shouldn't it? We're talking about Ashton. I've always been sure of it, and one day he'll see it for what it is, even if his heart is still set on someone else. In spite of that, in this minute, under this man's scrutiny, my own heart wavers. Yeah, we're calling him out. What right do you have? How dare he, though? How dare he just waltz in and act like he can do as he pleases, say what he wants, or trample over other people's feelings? He doesn't know anything about me or Ashton. I only met a few days ago, and yet he acts like we've been acquainted for years. He hasn't even met Ash. How can he say those things about him? The longer I hear his tirade, the more it sounds like he's pulling it out of his arse, out of some misguided thinking that he's better than everyone in this whole bloody city. What a pompous bawhide. Normally I'll ignore people like him. He doesn't deserve a single second of my day, but a small voice at the back of my head protests at the idea of simply leaving things here. I refuse to let this go until I've said my piece and defended myself. I might end up reloading, just because I feel like with Ash, we might get some unique dialogue because Isabella died, but we'll see this through, because I don't know if we're going to pick this on any other path. Those aren't merely months of harboring feelings for someone he's scoffing at. They're made of years, all of it built upon memories we've had from childhood.
What right do you have to tell me that?
None whatsoever, Daisy. But did you assume I haven't seen that before? Those longing looks? The face of someone who wants something but has yet to get it? Give me a little credit here, woman. I'm not daft, nor am I blind to your silly little feelings. It's plastered all over your face anyway. I didn't even need to try.
A pause comes after while I wait for him to add to that. He doesn't, but briefly a wistful expression spreads across his face. Surprisingly gentle, as if remembering an old memory from once upon a time, or something he has constantly seen in the mirror. It's gone in the next second. Then he turns his attention to a box beside him. For the next few minutes, he contents himself with making a mess out of the paper napkins inside. Folding them into clean shapes without any clear intent before crumpling them in his hand when he loses interest and dumping them in a small pile in front of him. I allow it to go on for a little while before I interrupt him. I am not yet done.
And somehow that's reason enough for you.
Not at all. In fact, you didn't even need to stay here and listen to me ramble about it. Go on, walk away, the door's wide open. If you wish to be done with this mindless topic, you certainly won't hear me complaining if we just drop this now. I, for one, am very eager to be done with this stupid nonsense about your man and your...
You don't know me.
He pauses in the middle of folding another paper napkin into an airplane and glances up at me.
I'm quite sure we've already established that, Daisy. But go ahead.
And you know not a single thing about him.
That too is true. Are you going anywhere with this?
We've always been together since we were children. We've been friends for a long time. We know each other better than anyone, compared to those 7 measly years you're so proud of. We've been with each other for almost a lifetime.
Not quite. Add a few more years, maybe? It does sound romantic when you put it that way, doesn't it? Not many people get to have someone with them that long. That's what you have going for you, isn't it? Cute years playing hide and seek, going to school together, and sharing lunchboxes? Did he also protect you from bullies? I bet my socks he did. Lucky, I don't even remember anyone from my old neighborhood. Well, except for that one Nancy who spat his drink in my face years ago. You better pray I don't find him.
So, you're just going to call it that? Despite what I told you, you're just going to call it an obsession?
Isn't it?
Of course it isn't!
I mean, I played another game with a childhood friend who was obsessed with a girl, and he ended up locking her in a cage. Dude was nuts.
Didn't I already tell you?
Did it ever cross your mind how your man would feel about all this?
You think I've never thought of that? Listen here, you.
Or were you expecting he'll simply feel the same all because of some shared history you have? Because fun fact, Daisy, feelings change and people most definitely also change with time, whoever that person was 10 or 20 years ago. Whatever idea you have of them floating inside your head, they won't be the same now.
I don't know why his voice is so muffled.
What are you trying to get at?
Suppose that man of yours wants something else for himself. What if he never returns your feelings, the way you so desperately want him to? What will you do?
That's not going to.
Are you going to beg? Tell him to choose you instead?
Well, he can't choose Isabella.
Or are you going to lash out at the poor woman or man who happened to catch your man's attention?
My voice falters. His eyes focus on me, the pieces of paper he's been folding earlier now left forgotten in the space between us while he waits my response. However, I can't give him one. He's already aware of that, and it shows in his face when his lips form a lopsided smirk. How can I, when I've had my suspicions all along? Worse, it turns out, all this time, they were true.
Oh, I hit a nerve, didn't I?
That's none of your business.
It's true, though. The poor bloke doesn't have any obligation to return your precious feelings, nor can you force him to. That wouldn't be right.
If you're just going to mock me, we might as well sew your bloody mouth shut this instant.
Now, no need to get violent, but come on, 20 years? Gordon Bennett, if nothing's happening past that mark, you might as well consider your options, woman. Even I wouldn't last that long.
Stop it.
One of these days, I'd like to meet the guy and share a few drinks with him, just to give the poor bloke a break from you. And probably see how dense he really is.
Beat him with another book.
I mean, a lovely woman like you chasing after him, and he doesn't give a shite? That's new. It'll be on me, don't worry.
I said stop it! I don't want to hear a word of it anymore!
The chair scrapes the floor as I abruptly push away from our table to stand, looming over him with the most piercing glower I can summon, anger undeterred by my own ragged breathing and clenched fists, looking down at him in the same manner he did to me throughout his chat. The only way I can keep my pride intact in front of him and the other people watching this sudden scene unfold. I hate this man. I hate the fact that he can unsettle me like this, turning everything around what I've believed in with his mere words alone. What's more awful is how easily those can replace the very ideas I hold dear to me. Not because I am easily swayed, but because in each of them I'm aware there's a sliver of truth. Minutes pass in quiet tension. Some of the diners have already lost interest in the commotion and returned to their meals. The waiter serves our food soon enough, and Kylie makes her way back to our table, unaware. Before I can take a seat, Luke mutters something. The words spoken in the same biting tone he has assumed since earlier. Despite my opinion of the man, I stop to look at him. His eyes are on his food as he speaks, busying himself with cutting a portion of meat on his plate. What comes out of him and only rings true against my ears is but the din of the coffee.
Is that all you are? Just some lovesick woman craving for another's affection? I sincerely hope not. Kylie spoke highly of you.
He spares a piece of his food, pops it into his mouth, and that's that. With that, however, he leaves another challenge in the air, another question. One whole day with this man, and I still can't figure out what his deal is. This time, I don't rise up to it. Doing so means facing a different set of truths I'm not ready to face, bitter truths. Those are for me to ponder later, not in front of these people or him. His loathsome face and his sneer are the last things I'd ever want to see if that introspection ever happens. But for all this, I can't bring myself to think of him as someone wholly despicable. The rest of our meal slips by in silence afterwards. Aside from Kylie's occasional chatter, the whole dinner goes by without another word exchanged between the two of us. Somehow we managed to make it through the whole thing without triggering the tension-riddled conversation. Yeah. LPD got a call from... Dropped by earlier, LPD got a call from the embassy and Isabella's aunt requested if we could help pack a few of her belongings tomorrow. It's for shipment back to her home. I'll try to get Z-Man to help. Anyway, how are you doing? Call me when you see this. See, Ash, I'm still planning to reload, but, you know, Ash's script line to surface. The message he left, short and straight to the point, but not without the underlying hint of friendship. He mentions nothing about the case except for a small request from Isabella's aunt. If, tomorrow, we could pack a few of her personal belongings for shipment back to her home. A gut punch, if anything. Suddenly, it's all moving too fast. We haven't even come to terms with it. Even Ash abruptly ends the formal tone of his note by checking on me instead of elaborating. Yeah, just the talk about Luke. On another day, the former part of this message would likely prod at the piercing envy I've been holding, while the latter would probably send my heart aflutter. Little things from him that I want to mean something more. At this time, only guilt fills me and my eyes briefly shift towards Isabel's empty unit. Luke's words repeat inside my head as I
Is
do.
that all you are? Just some lovesick woman craving for another's affection? I sincerely hope not. Kylie spoke highly of you.
Have I always been like this?
Is selfish? Yep, so we're gonna reload. And go with Ash, because there might be some new dialogue. And no friendship! Yeah, down with Luke. Though, when you look at it closely, it isn't such a difficult decision to make. First and foremost, no matter where I look at this, it's inappropriate to some degree. Disregarding Luke's honest intentions, I have only known the man for a grand total of 2 days, including today. If I'm going to be thoroughly specific, I'll give it a grand total of around 10 hours. By all means, it's not enough reason for me to join them for dinner, even if he says Kylie's the one who requested it. To other people, it won't appear as innocent as he makes it out to be, and if there's one ugly thing about the city, it's the place's penchant for inane gossip. One little spark, it'll spread like wildfire. Who knows how far it'll go, how many ears it'll reach. What if Ashton hears about it? I'd rather not think about the consequences of that. I've got enough on my plate lately as it is, being at the center of a rumor mill along with this man, in whatever form it takes, sends unpleasant chills down my spine. My answer must have already shown on my face as Kylie's smile immediately dissolves into a
You're
pout.
not gonna join us, are you?
I'm sorry, Kylie. I'd love to, but I have other things to do. Another time, maybe? A friend just texted me about something urgent, and he wants to meet tonight.
Just say it's a date, Daisy. A little rugrat will understand. She's not an infant. No need for blatant lies.
He'd instantly cross up my face at his baseless insinuations. Oh, what I would give for another chance to put a real dent in his skull.
What even gave you that idea? And even if it is, why do you care? Stop sticking your nose in other people's affairs.
Oh, your face says it all, woman. You think I won't recognize those longing looks?
There isn't a look, you There isn't a look, all right?
Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night, Daisy.
You already have a story written inside that head of yours, don't you?
Oh, please. It's not that interesting. The color of your face does suit you, though. Matches the hair. Well, come on now, Munchkin. I'll just buy you an extra glass of that parfait.
With extra strawberries?
I'll get you a basket full if you want. As long as you behave. And no complaints if they don't have enough syrup again. Deal?
Deal. Have fun with your date, Miss Pink.
Luke's already leading the child away before I can correct her. Upon reaching the end of the hall, however, he doesn't miss the chance to shoot me another one of those infuriating winks. Does he really think women enjoy those? I'd sue him for harassment if I could. Though I must admit, the two of them walking together hand in hand is an endearing sight in itself. It's something to mull over, along with every other confusing and frustrating thing about this guy. Some other time, though, Ashton's waiting. His car's headlights have been left turned on, illuminating the otherwise empty parking lot. If it's like that, this is probably going to be a quick visit, although our landlady would probably have a few hundred words to say about this before letting it go. Not many in this complex own a vehicle, anyway, to warrant the space's frequent use, owing to this area's proximity to downtown Luxbourne. No one's going to be disturbed if one car stays parked with its lights on for a few minutes. Right now, though, it serves as pleasant company while I idle inside my own car, thumbing the invitation's fine print, flipping it over and over until the motions become familiar enough. What should I say? How should I say it? There's a very high chance he'll say no, but on the off chance he accepts, what should I do? Fears, doubts, questions I haven't asked before, and more often than not, the anxiety is because of him. 17 years ago, I've been in the same position, a different letter in hand. Somehow, nothing has changed. Perhaps if he'd noticed how I've always felt about him years ago, I wouldn't be in this predicament. Honestly, he managed to ace all those exams at school without even lifting a finger, and he couldn't figure this out?
How dense can he get?
But I can very well wait for another 2 decades, But I can't very well wait for another 2 decades just for something as measly as an invitation, can I? It's not like it's gonna be a date. Although, frankly, I wouldn't mind if it was. However, that's a wish best reserved for some other time. I won't get anywhere if I just keep thinking about the what-ifs. Gathering all my thoughts and courage, I step out of my car and gingerly make my way upstairs, invitation in hand. Ever since the incident 3 days ago, there's a strange air permeating the atmosphere here. Weighted, but the sort that slowly trickles through you, until the burden of it finally bogs you down with some kind of disquiet. The days since have been uneasy, and Isabella's absence from her flat does not help settle it. Every day, coming home somewhat feels like an uphill battle in itself, leaving you spent when you're supposed to be getting some rest. Is Zachary experiencing the same thing? I certainly am. The same weary slump is also on Ashton's shoulders once I catch a glimpse of him. He's leaning casually on the rails, his back against its metal surface while reading enough through a bunch of papers. Each one appears more important than the other, despite me having never read a letter of it. I'll probably head back to the precinct after this, if he's not going to drop by Zachary's for a bit of shut-eye. No rest for the wicked. But no matter how occupied he seems, he pauses anyway and looks up from his work the moment he hears my treads. He raises a hand in greeting as a small smile spreads across his lips. Exhausted as I am, I can't help but return it
What
to
brought
him.
you here?
He hums something inaudible, neither an answer nor even a vague hint, before he turns his attention back to the papers. For a passing second, I thought he'd ignore or evade the question like every single time I've asked. But then, he shuffles the documents back to a binder and sets it aside with a huff, its sound more fatigued than I've ever heard from him recently. Either there's simply too many things keeping him busy at once, or his investigation isn't going too well. Maybe even both.
Just work.
Just work? Do you expect me to believe that?
In a way. I didn't think an important contact ditched me and now I'm stuck would make for a cool alibi. Did it work?
As if there's going to be any difference. You're still a dafty. Anyway, do you want to come in? But if you're going to hang around for a bit, you better turn those headlights off. My landlady's one hairline away from banning you off this place, you know? Stop taking the piss out of her. She's a nice woman.
When she stops taking the piss out of Shirley, maybe I will.
You and your bloody car.
The first time I've heard of the name, I did a double take. From the way he put it, it was as if he was talking about some woman he met somewhere, surprisingly got along with and grown fond of. Never mind how impossible that is, knowing his lack of interest for people outside our small circle. Honestly, it sent a surge of panic in me. It lasted for days, until he proudly introduced me to his new car. His car!
Hey, it's a nice name. Don't laugh at it. You'll hurt her feelings. I'm gonna have to give that offer a pass, though.
Nothing unexpected, but admittedly, I'm hoping he'll stay for a few minutes. Suddenly, asking him to accompany me to some housewarming party is starting to turn into a bad idea. If he can't even be bothered to spare a second of his time for his friends, what more if he has to stand some hours in a room full of strangers?
I need to get going. I just dropped in to check on something and...
His words trail off, cut mid-sentence on purpose, leaving it for me to comprehend the rest of it. You told me to come here! You don't want anything? At the same time as I shift momentarily towards the door closest to us, Isabella's unit. Eerily quiet now in her absence. The instant his lips curve into a small frown and his shoulders tense, I know work is far from his reasons for being here. Being all too aware that the idea alone summons another dull ache straight into my chest. Like every time, every single moment, he affords her the attention he can never seem to spare others. While it is a worry better left for a different situation, it twinges the heart nevertheless.
Is it the case? Were you able to smooth things out with the chief and Inspector Abigail?
Yeah, they let me back in. A few hours after another sermon, though.
I'm gonna pause because I think some food is here. I'm back. We had pizza even though I am trying to diet. And it's weird because I totally had like a dream of something of being interrupted for food while playing this game with all the grotesque imagery. And I thought of the food being pizza because, I don't know, that made me think of Isabella. Oh.
But it's not that.
He stalls several seconds too long for comfort. Minutes later, he takes a step back, stuffs both his hands to his pockets before looking away. It's like he doesn't want to be here. His posture on its own screams his complete reluctance to be the one delivering whatever this is. Is there anything worse than the one we got last time? Or the one I saw? Somehow, part of me no longer wants to hear him out, if this will only be more unpleasant news.
Actually, it's... LPD's been in contact with the embassy and her family back home.
Oh, how did they take it?
I mean, no positive way to take
As
this.
one would expect. Her mom was in shock, of course. The eldest guy I talked to, the one she complains about a lot, I kinda see why. He threatened to kill me if he found out I'm lying. Swore he'd take the first flight here. As if you could lie about something like that.
And her dad? Does he know?
No, I think they're putting it off until he's well enough to take the news. They're already making arrangements with the embassy now. Her aunt's helping out as much as she can, but there's only so much she can do.
You should have said a word. Is there something we could help with then?
That's why I'm here, actually. They called this afternoon. Asked if we could pack some of her things tomorrow. For shipment. Back home.
Silence stands between us as the gravity of his words sinks in. A gut punch, if anything. Suddenly, it's all moving too fast. We haven't even come into terms with it, and yet the world's already asking for
Tomorrow?
more.
Isn't that a little...
Abrupt? Hasty? The right words won't take form. What right do we have to protest in the first place? Do we even get a say in this? We're just her friends, people she met because she happened to end up here. We have no right to hold on to her, when her family, people of her own blood, are waiting. For her, they will always come first. But where does that leave us then?
And what about the case? Don't they want to know who did that to her? Are they just going to leave it like this?
I sure hope not. We can't just drop it. I can't let them. The bastard's still out there.
Then talk to them. You're part of the team investigating this, right? You should be able to reason with them, or Ashton, you have to try. You can't allow this to...
A genuine plea, yet under the weight of his gaze and every uncertainty behind it, the rest of it falls weakly off my lips. Unspoken, fragile amidst the silence suddenly stretching out between us. In the middle of it, Ashton stands perfectly still for a handful of minutes. Whatever he thinks beyond the ones he allowed me to hear, He keeps hidden, still unwilling, unready to let go of. When, at last, he finally decides to break the hush, he merely casts a glance back to the empty room beside us. Gone is that somber mood when he shifts, his casual, friendly air back.
I'll see what I can do. I'll let you know. For tomorrow, I'll try to bring Zach for some extra help. He's been saying some weird stuff lately, but I'm sure he'll help out.
Is Zach still alive?
See you, Becca. Good night.
Ashton squeezes my shoulder, light as he can, before stepping away and heading straight for the stairs, his way of offering comfort in the middle of this little mess we found ourselves in. But amidst all of this, a tiny voice at the back of my mind nudges at a memory. Something I've forgotten and the very reason why I've chosen to return home early. He's made it 4 steps down when realization kicks in, and awareness of the envelope I've been holding returns to me. Panic rears before proper words can form or I can think about the situation. At a second sooner, I'm calling after him.
Ashton, wait!
He halts, 1 foot already down another step when he turns to me, raising an eyebrow in question.
Yeah?
And of all times, it is in this moment when I falter, the adrenaline from earlier's panic suddenly receding. All of a sudden, none of the things I prepared to say will take form, and I'm caught between simply forgetting about this or blurting it out to him while hoping for the best. Well, sure, forget about it. Is there even a point to it? From the start, I already know what his answer will be. Why should I bother?
No, forget about it. Don't mind me.
It sounded important for a moment.
Even if I tell you, you would be interested.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Someone sent an invite for a housewarming party, and I was hoping you'd...
No. I'd rather stand on the messy end of a gunshot.
See? What did I tell you?
See, what right do you have to be angry?
You know I hate going to those, Becca.
Contrary to his words, however, when he reaches out and takes the envelope off my hands. He's silent for a handful of seconds, inspecting its crisp surface with the same blasé interest he had for schoolwork years ago.
I know. You don't have to tell me. I can just go alone.
Hope the ghost doesn't get me while I'm alone.
Have you tried asking Zach? He'll be a better companion.
Despite how well-meaning that suggestion is, it annoys me to hear it directly from him. I felt for him has always gone over his head for some ridiculous reason. Not that he's entirely to blame for it. Part of it is mine. Maybe if I'd told him early on, he wouldn't have found someone else.
If Zachary's not busy, I'll ask him. Whatever. Just get that back. I'll figure it out on my own. You go ahead and do whatever plans you have for tonight.
He doesn't hand it back, though, even when I hold my hand out to him, expecting. His indifference has disappeared. Now he's glaring at the seal as if it has done him a whole world of wrong. Gently, he pries it open and quietly reads through its contents. I don't know what he finds in it, but his eyebrows draw together as his eyes scan through the little lines of text printed on the small piece of paper. His hold on it tightens with each pass, and by the time he's finished reading, his mouth is formed into a thin line.
Ash?
How come you've never mentioned this before?
Well, obviously, I just got that last Tuesday.
Not the invitation. The one who sent this.
Who? Hannah Wright? She's an old family friend, Ash. Mom and Dad used to teach her. That was a long time ago. I don't even remember ever meeting the woman. Don't you think I would have mentioned her to you if I somehow made a friend like her?
Don't go to this party. Don't even invite Zach.
I can't do that. I already promised Mom. What's gotten into you?
A whole minute of silence passes. Enough time for him to answer, but he doesn't. He merely turns the invitation in his hands, his scowl growing deeper with each second slipping by. In the end, my own impatience and frustration went out. We're back to this again, back to these wordless exchanges filled with every single unuttered thing he refuses to share with me.
Ashton, it's just a party. If you don't want to join me, just say so. Don't ruin other people's plans.
He hums something inaudible under his breath, all while thumbing the paper, staring at it as if doing so will offer him answers to every unspoken question in his head. When he gleans nothing from it, he merely folds the envelope back to its form.
All right. I'll go with you.
What?
I'll go with you. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Unless you've already made up your mind about asking Z-Man.
He really should just be honest.
No, I told you already the guy's busy. Why would I bother him for this when I can go alone? But what about your own work and...
I can make time for this. 3 o'clock, yeah? I'll pick you up an hour or so before.
My head reels, less from what this implies, more from how easy all this seems for him, how fast this turnaround is. Luke and Kylie asked Rebecca out for dinner as she was about to leave, but the latter chose to meet with Ashton instead. At Salemwell, after a brief talk with Ashton about Isabella, Rebecca invited him to the housewarming party. Despite his qualms, Ashton agreed in the end. He's already halfway down the stairs when any semblance of sense returns to me and I can finally string 2 words of protest together. All of it dies on my tongue at the small smile he shoots me. He disappears from view seconds later. His footsteps gradually fading as he descends the stairwell, and all I can hear are my own shallow breath and heartbeat, loud, pounding against my chest. It is only after I'm standing alone in my room, minutes later, that it sinks in. He's taken the invitation with him. Besides that, more than that, he has also accepted mine. Calling this happiness is a complete understatement. For now, living thoughts of the mansion and that woman lay silent at the back of my head. Even though we're going there. See, in this timeline, it's going to make a lot more sense that she's angry when he ignores her the entire party. Because she invited him, he accepted, and she got all excited. But in the other timeline, where that doesn't happen, it doesn't make sense. The night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strange sort of stillness unlike the ones that greet me every morn. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. It hangs in the hallway, it lingers in Isabella's room, palpable the moment I ease open the door and walk in. I really think there'd be a lot more mess. Where's all the help me on the walls? The scent of disinfectant greets me upon crossing its threshold. They couldn't even be bothered to clean up the noodle cups. We'll just ship those back. They didn't even turn off the TV. This is us. How small we are. Send them this giant photo and the clock that's always got this time on it. The windows have been left wide open, but it doesn't do much to keep the sterile smell out. The walls and the floors have also been scrubbed clean of the blood after the police were done with it. Yet, even with all the efforts they've taken, the stench of death endures. More than that is the sight of what it has left behind. Look at a plush. That is a cute photo. And there's the family photo in color. With the eyes. Posters hanging on the wall, framed photos she keeps on her bedside, the stuffed toys she brought on a whim before the mess of cushions on one area of the rooms that she promised to clean. She'd never be able to do that now. Even without her here, the room is still so undoubtedly hers. Ashton and Zachary are already here, each of them having found a corner of the room to start their work. Scattered around them are a couple of boxes, 6, 7. Most are still empty, merely waiting to be filled. It's a wonder if it'll be enough to fit all 5 years' worth of memories here. We should put them the TV. Knowing Isabella, she won't be willing to leave any of these behind. There's no lively chatter, no friendly banter here to greet me, only a thick silence hanging between the three of us. And despite my resolve, I still end up hanging around the door, unsure. From the looks of it, the two of them alone can already handle this, but still, I want to help. Even if doing this has a ring of finality in it. I don't know how to help, because I don't know that we're going to plan on killing Rebecca again. So, we'll assist Zach. Let's look at our relationships. Zach's the only one that likes us. Okay, we'll assist Ash then. Because we can't get any higher with Zach. Ashton does not look up from his work as I approach. He is, however, considerate enough to make room for me in that little space he's made for himself amidst the room's mess. In the little time he's been here, he's made too much progress cleaning up the corner of the room he picked. 2 boxes have already been filled, taped, and set aside. Now he's already working through the photos taped on Isabella's fridge, carefully putting them all in a neat stack beside him. With nothing else to say, not even a clipped greeting, we both simply lapse into silence, working diligently through the clutter of papers and books around us, sorting everything into the boxes. This pile will immediately be sent to her family. It's important. A collection of postcards goes in this other box for a shipment at a later date. Her younger siblings will love it. Only a few soft grunts and hums are exchanged between us until the minutes blur and we found a rhythm. One that's only broken when Ashton chuckles. An odd thing to hear in the heavy silence of the room, and it prompts me to look up from my own work, puzzled. He's staring at one of the remaining photos still fixed to the fridge's door. Moments later, after a bit of his amusement has died down, he reaches for it. It's an old photo of the 4 of us. Taken a few years ago, about 2 or 3 years, probably. I can't remember now. Isabella's always been the one to remember these sorts of things. Although at the moment, the picture isn't the most flattering thing to look at after she drew over Ashton's face. None of it seems to bother him, though. In fact, with the manner he's staring at it, it's as if he's holding the most precious thing in his hands right now. A tender smile is on his lips, and for the first time in days, his eyes are bright with something close to fun.
Really, scaredy cat? A mustache? I expect more from you than that.
She was such a child sometimes.
Worse, she's clumsy, a scatterbrain, and a crybaby. In the 5 years we've known her, she got us into all kinds of trouble. More than I can count. Honestly, she barged into our lives with all the subtlety of a bulldozer. The way she came in leaves a terrible impression when you think about it. Who does that?
It sounds like a complaint on all fronts. There's not even a hint of humor in it. Wherever I look at it, I'm inclined to think he really means all of it. But this is Ashton. Sometimes, despite what he says, his words carry a completely different meaning beyond what he chooses to convey.
You're being rude, Ash.
Yeah, we're calling you out, Ash.
I didn't...
You're not supposed to talk about her like that. Even if she's no longer here, there's a proper time and place for jokes. Today isn't.
You don't... That's not what I...
Abruptly, he pauses and takes a breath. A scowl slowly forms in his head as he tries to form words and fails. Perhaps I've been too harsh on him. It's not every day that Ashton falls short of retort. But even with Isabel's childish tendency, she deserves none of those words, especially from a friend. In the end, after a long battle with himself, Ashton settles for a quick apology. Hastily stuffs the picture in a nearby box and proceeds to take the rest of the photos off the fridge's door, noticeably with less care than before. But along with it, the mood around us quickly changes. Awkward now, more stifling than any of the silences we've shared as children. Just ruining everything. It's going to be the most depressing playthrough. His movements are sharper, more functional, and only when he finishes storing the last of the photographs into the box does he speak. In a low, strained tone, if the room isn't as quiet as it is, I would have missed it.
I do care about her, you know? I just wish I could have told her that.
No further words are exchanged after that, and perhaps it is for the better. We manage to pack most of Isabella's belongings by the time all of us have to leave for work, but at the threshold, we all hesitate. While packing Isabella's things to return to her family, Ashton finds an old group photo with his picture with his face vandalized. After he called Isabella scatterbrained and a crybaby, Rebecca reprimanded him for being rude. A heavy air hangs around as a consequence of knowing this might be the last time we will be doing something for her. The room still looks the same as it always did. And this looks like a zoomed-in version of that photo, but without the markings. Of course, none of us mentions it, even if the meaning's all too clear in our heads. This is a goodbye, if anything. The world outside waits and we can't stay here, so with a last glance, we leave all of it behind. At least tonight, I'll have something to look forward to, something to help take my mind off things. And if any of my hunches are correct, where this all started will provide the answers I'm looking for. I don't think it'll let us skip, probably, because we invited Ashton this time. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claimed dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars, worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined, line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about enjoying the warmth of the afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Miss Wright from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests, or not having her own husband beside her. It's all the same. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip.
Welcome everyone.
And Mom said we could have been good friends? Can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guest she has. Though I admit she does seem familiar now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flip briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please, make yourselves at home.
I wish I could share her enthusiasm, really. Being surrounded by all this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, really makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. Also knowing there might be some truth to what lies inside the place helps drive the unease further by a notch. Ashton, on the other hand...
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
For someone who abhors gatherings like this, he already seems right at home, standing with an air too lackadaisical as he watches the valet drive off with his bloody car.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
How dare you, Rebecca? My disdain is likely shown beyond the tone of my voice, quite possibly in the form of a grimace. He chuckles, a rare moment where mirth and amusement dance across his features. Try as I might to pull up a stern glare, I can't help but join him instead. There's something in the lightness of it, how easy this kind of interaction falls into place when we don't let feelings get too involved, in spite of being stuck in a situation we're not fond of. It brings back memories. However, this moment doesn't hold. All of a sudden, Ashton grows quiet.
Chief?
That expression flashes momentarily across his face, though he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is
Ashton,
exactly.
what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused at some point in the crowd. His gaze darting between the people walking past us until a small frown forms on his face.
Oh wait, Ash! What about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? Before I can ask, already he has turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up with him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful!
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. Well, we skipped like 2 lines of dialogue. Call ends and I look up. Ashton's already heading inside. With a sigh and admittedly a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and follow after.
So much for a date.
Her voice just got muffled again. Even with familiar company, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. Party hits full swing an hour later. Hey, it's finally letting me skip dialogue. So, yeah, Ashton is ignoring Rebecca and eating stuff and running around. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he only agreed to come with me for another reason.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
Hana comes to talk to us. She teases us about Ash. And yeah, Ashton's been indifferent to people thinking he's our boyfriend, but his reason's clear to me now. Still, the heat of a blush creeps up my cheeks, the denial ready despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
No.
We're still talking about Ash. He's not entirely clueless about it, I know. He won't be harboring affections for someone else if he is. Only those who aren't of his own escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron?
She's realized that Ash has been our secret crush for years, since childhood. I haven't even started these things up for myself.
So, this is an...
Yep, more Ash. No wonder I lost him to someone else long before my feelings are known. Because I'm being a hypocrite. We're being hard on ourselves. Luke shows up. Rochelle makes the accusation. The commotion doesn't go any further despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up escorting her out. Apparently she's the chief inspector's wife, too? As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. The damage has been done, and before the repercussions this will bring, I'm more worried about Hana. Maybe Luke too, in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him, who he will be murdering tomorrow. No matter how questionable that is now. Though sometimes mere affections aren't enough.
And I've had enough of you! So guess what? Fuck you, Luke!
No subtitles for that one. Oh, there it is. Oh, it is in all caps and bolded.
We agreed to never talk of this woman!
Did we? I don't remember.
I don't know how long this has been going on. I don't know either of them well enough to judge for myself. I'm simply an outsider who happens to have some kind of connection with both of them.
Face it, Lucille Mitchell Wright. You owe me everything.
I owe you everything. I owe you everything? Who's running the business now while you sit at home like a pretty princess?
If I recall, you told me to retire so that I can enjoy my time as Mrs. Luke Wright.
If we were possessed and he tried to kill us, I wonder what would have happened.
I wouldn't even bother with other women if you were still Hannah Evans! You used to be your own woman! You used to be someone who I could fucking look up to! Now look at you! If I wanted some brainless bint, I'd go to the whorehouse and play any old strumpet like a fucking fiddle. That's all you are now. A brainless, good-for-nothing...
But the second Hana raises her hand, I know it's far too late to save an already crumbling relationship, long before her palm connects with his cheek. The sound of it echoes throughout the ballroom, loud enough to silence everyone. The quiet does not persist, however, in an instant, Luke orders every guest out.
That's it! This party is over! Everybody leave before I have you all thrown out!
There's shuffling, a minute of reluctance from every head in the room. But in the end, his anger forces everyone to comply. Chatter explodes throughout the whole foyer, once the door has been promptly shut. Worried murmurs, clicking of tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. I couldn't care less about any of it. Besides, it's pretty obvious what the topic is. Most of them haven't even left the premises and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet and tabloid in Lexington. I mean, I can't really blame the guests for talking about it. Simply thinking about it already gives me a headache. When the shock has faded, I just feel bone-tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I came here for, and Ashton's nowhere to be found. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he ignored me for the whole evening and might have just left without saying anything, or knowing he obviously had some other motive for being here. Can he at least trust his own friends with that?
You didn't have to lie to me.
The only relief to be had, perhaps, is Zachary's comforting smile when he approaches. He appears as disturbed when he stands beside me, fiddling with the buttons on his camera even though the device is on.
Eventful night, huh?
You can say that again. It was awful.
He pauses for a moment, stares at me intently, then he laughs. A tired one, but filled with humor in spite of what we've witnessed.
Let me guess. Ashton.
Oh, what makes you think he's my problem?
Just a hunch, and, it's all in your face, actually.
Why does he have to? I don't understand that man anymore.
Like I always say, you should just...
Oh, you can bet your ass we're going to have a very long talk. I'm not letting him off easy this time.
I'm sure he has a good reason. He won't say it, but he likes being around us. Heck, we're probably the only people he likes. He ain't gonna ruin that for something stupid. He can be dense, but he ain't dumb.
I'm not entirely convinced. That's exactly what I've been telling people, isn't
We'll
it?
see about that. Let's just go. Are you done here?
Yeah, no use staying when...
Uh-oh. I worry when these two meet. Are we gonna have racial talk again? Just then the door to the ballroom slams open and a very irate Luke marches out into the foyer. By now most of the guests have trickled out of the mansion, leaving only a few loitering around the room. With his fury still at its peak boiling point, it's only natural he'll zero in on the tallest person within his temper's blast radius. Oh boy. Brace yourself, everyone, we might get slurs. Though he's not really making an effort not to let the remaining people in the hall hear his tirade.
Well, still here I see. Having a grand time, aren't we? Every bloody goss in this fucking city has something to talk about tomorrow. Great news day, isn't it? I wonder what the headlines will be. Cheating husband lashes out at poor wife.
I ain't a part of the media, sir. Miss Wright only hired me for the photos, nothing more.
Oh, the photos, of fucking course. How could I forget? Darling wifey needs a bloody souvenir, doesn't she? Something to remind her of how she humiliated her asshole of a husband.
I'm sure it ain't like that, sir. Hannah's... No one expected.
Hand it over.
I'm sorry, what?
Are you also deaf? Do I always have to spell everything out to you peasants? Hand the blasted thing over! All of you! If I see one picture, even a single shot of a fucking spoon tomorrow, you will all lose more than your jobs!
Everyone put pictures of spoons from this event in their newspapers. It'd be so funny.
Now give me the bloody camera!
No, protect Zach.
I can't do that, sir. I do freelance work, and this is my...
Do I look like I give a shite? Give it to me, or...
I wonder what Kylie will say if she sees Tio Luke right now.
Yeah, just for Zach. For a short second, he looks surprised to find me there. To be honest, I didn't realize I've spoken either until he turns a livid glare on me. A lesser person will probably cower under it. I will too, perhaps in another situation where he isn't throwing insults at my friend. There's probably books around here, Luke. That one I simply can't let go of.
Oh, Daisy, oh, Daisy. Do you always have to butt in on other people's discussions?
I wouldn't have to if there was actually one happening right now. It's pretty one-sided, eh? A bit offensive, too, if you ask me.
Woman, why don't you just bugger off? No one cares what your opinion is, especially in my home.
I actually don't think he's gotten particularly offensive yet, knowing some of the things he says.
You don't have to worry about that, Mr. Luke Wright. I don't have any plans of staying longer. I'm only here to fetch my friend. I wasn't expecting to see an asshole standing beside him, though.
Rebecca, you really don't have to.
Oh, no, you shut your trap. Let her say what she wants. I'd love to hear it. That feisty attitude is going to take you places, Daisy. Fair warning, though, woman, and I've said this plenty of times.
There's a pause as he steps closer, staring me down with an almost little to no effort. I do my best to hold it, but I won't deny flinching at the tone he takes once he lets loose the next words from his mouth.
Threats do not work on me.
Action does, Luke. I got books. I'll beat you again. Then and there I believe him, that this man is capable of doing so much more than what my intimidating remark I can lob at him.
So if you don't have anything worth my while to say, it'd be in your best interests if you remove you and your precious friend from my property.
Gladly.
Now, before I get the security to drag you out.
Another person takes that decision out of
Come
my
on,
hands.
Becca. He ain't worth your time.
Without wasting time, Zachary pulls me away from him. By the time I regain my senses, he's already tugging me by my wrist towards the wide-open doors. The stubborn part of me, however, the part that has seen the kind of person he is with his own kind, refuses to withdraw without flinging in a last
And
retort.
here I thought you were a halfway decent guy. Whatever happened to the person his goddaughter looks up to?
He was never there, Daisy. That man died a long time ago. You're better off not looking for him.
I kind of wonder how this would have gone if we had a better relationship with him. I won't. I have no intention to, but I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave. If only to have one last look at the man he really is. Perhaps I should be thankful this brief acquaintance isn't going anywhere. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Looming, hovering over his shoulder, is drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Like the first time I've stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there too, wasn't he? The man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCullough? And that shadow. No. A woman now. Her, no longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body, a crippling sensation gripping every part of me while she stares at me, with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something, a warning, but Zachary's already leading me out of the foyer, oblivious. And before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind us, as if to keep outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. Fuming Luke Wright was seen storming out of the ballroom after a spat with his wife. Thinking Zachary was part of the media, Luke demanded that he surrender his camera. Rebecca defended her friend before leaving the estate. She caught a glimpse of a shadow standing behind Luke. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is when Hannah dies. And then the 30th is when Zachary dies. The rush of fresh air against my cheek does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now the sensation, the fear and disquiet it leaves whenever I see her is familiar enough for me. Already it has made a home in my nerves. Maybe I should pause and see the time. Oh yeah, we are an hour and 15 minutes in, so this is a weird place to cut it. But we are going to end this episode here. So, thanks so much for watching. Please leave a comment, and I will catch you all next time. Bye!